I think the most important thing that happened in the very, very beginning, we decided that it was okay if we failed. And we didn't mind. We just thought, we don't know what we're doing. We have no idea how we're going to put this together. The whole process, the process of how you design something is, this process was so, we understood how it takes certain steps that have to keep changing things over and over and over again. And the fact that we said, it's okay to fail. We know that. And we're still in that mode.
Yeah. The problem is that it gets more and more complex as we get toward the end, and then it's a little harder to take risks. It's like, is this really going to work? We want this to work so much. In the beginning, it was like, we had the general parameters, but we just thought we could change it, and we did. We changed it a lot.
A lot.
What we find is, as we're trying to integrate this thing, we're figuring out, okay, well, is this bulge too big, or do we like the way the sweep of this curve is, and we look at it objectively together and then make changes.
And that's what's so exciting.
Yeah.
We practically finish each other's thoughts and sentences. But
it's nice because we're working each really individually, but then we come together and look at it together.
It's wonderful. It's one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my whole life, I can tell you. And we're having so much fun.
What have I learned from collaborating with my mother? I've learned that we were both grown up, and we whatever our relationship with this was in the past, that's not what it is now. We're two mature artists respecting each other's process. We have different approaches. We have a different way of thinking, and that, but we're enjoying that about each other, actually. And when we brainstormed the original idea, originally we thought we were going to have two separate pieces that were sort of talking to each other, but we brainstormed using words and images and emotions, and then we came up with this idea. But we still, when we started, we weren't sure how it was going to be. What we're looking at now is really not finished. I mean, there's still many areas which we have to resolve.
And each time we put something in one area, it changes. We have to think about the total design again.
Right. So about the heads, we started out not knowing who they were, and as Mom started making them, they started turning into people. Or at least, like, we would wonder, who are they? What do they mean to us? So they're somewhat ancestors, somewhat family members, maybe friends, maybe just ideas of family and people.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
But not necessarily, you wouldn't say, oh, that's so-and-so, because it isn't. But it might be reminiscent of somebody in the past in our lives,
right,
or somebody right now.
Except for Steve. This person came out, Mom made it, and I said, oh my God, that looks like Steve. So I really tried to turn it into Steve. So that's the only one.
Who is Steve?
Steve, my late husband, Steve. And I made him have a Native American headdress, because he used to love the Plains Indians when he was a little boy.
Yeah. So there are little secrets that are in here.
Well, this might be David, Lauren, and Josie.
Yeah,
maybe.
But we don't want it to be specific, because that kind of, it isn't. I don't want people to say, oh, that doesn't look like somebody. Well, I don't expect it to look like somebody, but I don't want anybody to say, oh, that's a bad portrait or something, because I'm not trying to make it a real portrait.
So the way we think about it is, when we're thinking, okay, where does something go? We'll start holding it up and saying, where does it go? And at this point, I don't think it's ready. It's ready. We want more
Right
space.
there, yeah.
This would be good, but
Yeah,
I think it has to.
it should be up higher.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the way we think. I mean, we didn't rehearse this right now, but this is how we think. We say,
Right. It'll be too crowded if it's too low, and that's the part that we have that's the same. Our sense of design
yes,
is
that's very important.
similar.
Yeah, and that's why I think we do agree most of the time. But we disagree sometimes, but mostly we agree because we do have the same sense of design. And I guess design is design. It's universal. I've never thought about it quite like that, but I guess it's true.
Well, people could do it differently. I mean, it would be a different thing if it was all crowded. If there were too many. See, our first principle, in a way, is to be able to really see both of our work at the same time. So if there were too many heads, then it covers this up. If there's not enough heads, then it's...
Exactly.
So we want a balance of heads and body.
Right. So this is a new head that I'm starting. And it may be my husband, your grandfather, but I'm not quite sure. But we felt we needed another single head. So that's so Ellen and I decide what's next, or I think of something. This isn't what I want yet, but it's in process.
This is Japanese technique of coiling that I learned from my teacher, Malcolm Wright. And then there's something called padlet. I was telling Mom, I learned this, like the first thing I learned, one of the first techniques I ever learned in clay was coiling and paddling. And here I am using it. Still.
See, the question is, when do we stop? How tall do we get?
We're going to get taller.
And how many more faces to add?
I don't know. We'll have to decide. We'll know when it's ready. We'll know when we've hit the top.
I hope so.
I
Okay.
have complete faith in us.
I have faith in us too.